Yeah. So what is it again that we are supposed to learn? the,
Nesting.
the nesting constraints, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing you need to, okay, let's shift this down to, we don't need so many, right? Okay. So usually when people do constraints, right? I
Mm.
think most of the time you guys will just press the object, no,
Mm.
press the control, master, then slave, then constraint, right?
Mm.
Parent, right?
Mm.
Then you will often get something strange like that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the thing that you need to know is that when you do a constraint like that, right?
Mm. Mm.
You notice that the attributes on the side here, they become blue color, right? Blue
Yeah.
color means there's a constraint happening, right? And then even when you turn it off, it is still blue color. So I think most of the time when you want your character to pick up an object and to drop an object, you guys will just off and on the thing. Then you'll find that you still can't really like animate the thing properly without it messing up later when you do some strange stuff. Let's
Mm.
do some strange stuff that people will typically go and do. Right. First you want to move the thing, then you will sort of I guess people will go and do something like that. Uh, Key this. Let's turn on this auto keys thing. Uh, yeah. Then from here, maybe you want to start to animate, right? Then you find that it doesn't really work. Very strange things will start to happen.
Mm.
Okay, let's put this at 0 first. Yeah. So it doesn't really. Did I key it? One. Oh, key one. Yeah, yeah. You see, even though it is constrained, it's kind of broken already, right?
Um,
Right. Because we've got some animation. If we delete the previous one,
mm.
right? Okay, it's kind of uh 0. Yeah, it's kind of broken. It doesn't work anymore because we went to go and do something, and the numbers have all screwed up basically, right?
Mm.
So usually I don't go and constrain stuff like that. Okay,
Mm.
so usually when we have a object, it's we want to go and sort of set it up properly before we go and do funny things to it. Okay,
Mm.
so
Mm.
what I usually like to do before I even start any of these things is I like to go and set the pivot points properly. So the pivot
Mm.
point basically is like your center of gravity or whatever. Let me hide
Mm.
the Zelda first. Let me put the thing in the center, right? So let's say the center of gravity for this is the center of gravity basically should be where your character want to hold, right? So
Mm.
I will set it to be the trigger, right? Uh, Set it here. Yeah, right. So usually I would like to set the pivot point where the character is going to hold, just to make our life easy. Freeze transform, so that this is the center of the world. So when we want to reset the whole gun, right, we
Mm.
just press 0 and then it goes back to where it's supposed to be, right? But that is not
Mm.
the only thing I do, right? So this is the geometry group. So the gun is made of a lot of different parts. Sometimes you have it as one part, sometimes you have it as a lot of different parts. Whatever is it, I just group it into one group, and then I name it the geometry. Okay, this geometry group we don't touch. We try not to go and have any keys on it. We don't want to move the geometry. We want it to move because it is following a set of controls, the same like how your character is like. Okay, so we're going to go and we have to go and build some controls for this thing.
Mm.
Okay, let's go and make something. So to make it simple, usually just I'll just put a locator as the control of the thing. Okay,
Mm.
and we make it big so that we can see the thing. Uh, yeah, okay. So this locator, go and freeze. Okay, I think I'm gonna do it on the inside here. So the locator is inside. This locator will actually control the geometry. So we want to put the geometry inside. Okay. So we call this the geo control. Okay. Now, this one is what we will use to manually adjust the geometry. Okay, so this geo control is for us to adjust the geometry position. So sometimes we need to do some minor adjustment or some manual animation. I do this, right? Now, this is not the only thing, right? So the next thing we want to do is we want to go and add another control to the thing, right? This one, we make it bigger, right? Then we go and freeze, right? This one, then we put the geo control inside this one, right? So it looks like this. This one is what we call, this is what I will call the constraint control. Okay. Now, this one is the one that we use to constrain stuff. Once it's constrained, this one is what we use to hand animate. Okay. So this is what I mean by nesting constraints. Because when you constrain stuff, you cannot animate anymore. So if you still want to animate with a constraint still happening, we cannot use the constraint control. We have to use the geo control to go and adjust. See? Okay, so this is the setup for any sort of equipment that you want your character to have, right? One that control the mesh and one that is for constraining, right? The constraint, then the mesh, then this one we don't ever touch it, right? If you touch this one, everything will explode, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's go and set this thing up. So this one is like that, right? Then we can go and shift this to, usually if you check on your character, they have somewhere where they hold onto stuff. If they don't have, it's usually on the hand control somewhere, right? So for Zelda, right, in her hand, actually, oops, there is a square thing down here. It's called a weapon anchor. Depends on the rig also lah. Not every rig have, but usually if they are, sometimes they have, sometimes they don't have. So you have to go and check. If don't have also, but it still works. I mean, you just constrain it to the hand wherever you need it to be anyway, right? So we will put it in the default. Then what we want to do is the constraint control, right? This one. We will go and match move to the thing. So this one to this one, then I'll go and match transform, match move, right? So now it is at where the hand is at, okay? But the thing is that it's not correct yet lah. So we want to go and adjust it. We go and adjust it. This one you set up before you start animating also, right? So this is even before we do anything. This is to make sure that when we zero the thing, then it's correct, right? So we put it somewhere like this, right? So you see it's all kind of messed up, right? All the numbers, it's not correct, right? So like this already, because we know that if this is the hand default position, right? Then I want this gun, the default position to be like that. So I'm going to freeze this, right? So now when I reset everything, the gun is in the correct position. It's just for convenience lah, right? It's just for convenience that I do this, okay? So now we can do the setup proper. Okay, so what I want to do is okay, so now we can do the constraint. So master, right? Master is the anchor, then slave is the gun. Then we can constrain. We can parent. I mean, if you never freeze or whatever, sometimes you can maintain the offset, right? Maintain offset means that if there's some sort of number shift, they will take it. But if you turn it off, then it's a 0, right? Which is not what we want, right? So I will maintain the offset.
Okay.
I'll maintain the offset because if I don't turn off, then the 0 of the gun and the 0 of the hand will shift. You see, so this one we can maintain so that it's all at 0, right? Maintain offset. So this is all at 0, and then the hand thing is all at 0 also. Okay. Also just to make your life easy, I also tend to turn off the there's a way, I can't remember how to do it, but there's a way that you turn off the selection of polygon.
Oh.
How is it again?
It's somewhere on top. No, you know the live surface, no live surface, that row there. It's like that one. No, not that one. Go back.
Oh, okay.
Wait. There's an arrow somewhere. Wait, I try to find also.
Okay, I think it's here. Okay, I can't really remember how it's it. Here. Yeah. So just to make my life easy, I like to do all this so that I don't accidentally click a mesh also, right? What is a locator? A locator is a miscellaneous thing. Yes, a locator is a miscellaneous thing. Okay, right. So this prevents us from actually clicking on the mesh and messing it up, because we never ever want to touch the mesh when we are doing animation, because usually the mesh got deformers and all this kind of stuff that the animator not supposed to touch at all. It's for the rigger to go and do, right? So just for safety's sake, we only select curves and we only select miscellaneous stuff when we animate, right? So turn off the X-ray. So now our hand is linked to the gun, right? So this is the thing. Okay, so what we can do with this double setup is that now we can because you can't animate the gun, right? Let's say you want Zelda to do okay, let's do a simple animation. All right. Okay. Right. So she's drawing the gun, right? Then you see, then we want to go and animate the gun as it come out, right? So at 10 is here. Okay, you can do something like that, minus 360, right? So you see, if you did not do the double thing, you cannot animate the gun because it's all blue, right? But because I have a secondary set that is clean, I can manually animate the thing. So now she will do a gun spin, boom, like that, right? Like you can't do this if you got a constraint, if the thing is blue, right? You can't animate the gun by hand. Like you cannot have manual animation if the gun is blue. So you need to have a layer where there's no constraint. So you have its own nest inside. Then you can manually animate this, right? Then you want to do some crazy stuff. You can move the gun out also, right? And then it won't really mess up. So you can still manually animate this part, and it's still kind of constrained also, right? Actually, the gun is constrained all the time, right? So you can do this. Pop, 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 pop. So you can throw or whatever you want to. So you can manually animate and have your constraint at the same time. Right, so this is what I mean by the double nesting, because you cannot manually, like, remember when you were doing your pizza, you cannot animate the pizza if there's a constraint, right? Then it get broken. So you must have a group where you manually animate, and then outside that there's a group where it's just constraint. So the constraint group always follow the constraint, but inside, right, this one always follow the constraint. So this one you don't touch, you don't really need to bother. This one inside is where you can manually do your adjustments. Yeah.
So let's say like okay, so example the character comes with a prop. The prop has its own controls. But since you only has like one control, that means I will need to make
yes, that the like Zelda come with props, right? Let's see, open the props. Open the sword, right? So right, I think
you need to show the
show the props control.
Yep.
Prop
So
sword control this. Okay, which one is the sword control is?
Oh, it's not showing. Usually happen.
Is it inside? Here. Okay, yeah, but anyway, where is it? Ah, okay.
Oh, there.
Yeah, okay. Don't know why it wasn't registering. But so the sword comes like that, right? We usually need to go and study how they do it. Because sometimes you can't just take it up, right? Sometimes you can't just take it out. So this one, I presume we can't just take it out. Okay. Yeah, we should not just take it out. In fact, because the way they do it very complicated. But what you can do, right? What you can do if the control is part of the whole thing is that you can make outside control, right? So let's make one. Okay, so what we can do, because it's part of it, right? We need to know how to go and make constraints that the thing about constraint is that it can work without grouping, right? So I'm going to make another controller, right? And make another controller. You just make it bigger, 10. Okay, then this one we call it. It's also important to name your stuff properly. So because there's going to be a lot of custom stuff, and then you kind of need to know what's happening. So usually I make it a habit to go and name stuff as the moment I build them. So so I don't forget what is what, right? So this one, let's see, the swap is over here. Control master swap. Okay, this to this, go and match move. So I'm going to make a set of my own controls on top of this thing to go and copy it, right? Let's see. I freeze this, will it reset? It resets. Okay. Okay, let me think about it a while, okay? Because this one is, if you freeze a locator in the world space, then it's not going to, it's going to reset all the rotation. So, let's do this, match. Okay, let's put this inside here. Hold on, wait, let me do a little bit of testing first.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, I got it. Okay,
Oh.
okay, it works. So you can see, don't know whether you can see, the I also like to use a lot of null groups if I need to go and save or bake in some locations, right? So the null group keeps all these rotations, and then my SWOT locator is at 0 and it's at the correct orientation, you see? We change it to object. All right.
So you mesh transform, then you freeze it, right?
Sorry?
You mesh transform, then you freeze.
This one don't freeze. So this is the thing. There's some things that you freeze and something you don't freeze. Because the SWOT is crooked, right? The SWOT is at a funny angle, and this funny angle is the SWOT's 0 position.
Yeah.
Right? Therefore, if I need my locator to be at the funny angle and at 0 position, the whole world of this locator need to be crooked. Right? If I reset this to 0, then the locator is broken. See? It's at 0, but it's not the same 0 as this one. So the world of the SWOT is crooked. So I need to make a crooked world for the locator to stay inside. So this is the crooked world now, right? Okay. So we done something like this. But okay, then we can kind of build back this same setup. Okay, so we are gonna build another curve. Okay, this one to this and match move. Okay, I think my notes is very small. Yeah, okay. This one needs to stay in here. Well, this is just some resetting thing. Okay, wait. Okay, so what I just did, right, is I made the control, I made the locator, or the more important thing is I make this broken null, SWOT null. Okay. Okay, so let's undo everything and let's start from the very beginning. Okay. So I'm gonna throw all this stuff away. Okay. So what I do first, right? Okay, let's totally just restart. Okay. Okay, what you want to do is you want to make a null group. So you press Control and G. A null group is just an empty group with nothing inside, right? You want to go and find what is the rotation of the SWOT. So what you do is you match move the null group to the SWOT control, right? So this to this, then you go and match transform, right? So now the null group, right, is at where the SWOT is at. You see? Like you can't see that because the null group is invisible. So you got to look at the the gizmo, right? So you can see that the null group now have all of this rotational information. This is the SWOT's actual location in world space before they freeze it. Right? This is the location of the thing before they freeze it. They freeze it into 0, that's why it's all 0, right? But if it's not at 0, actually it's this before they froze it. So we are actually capturing the information of the SWOT location in world space. Okay, once we have this, we can actually just make the controller. So I make the SWOT geo control using the locator, put it inside the null, right? Put it inside the null, right? And then if we zero it, the world 0 is this null group, right? So we can call this SWOT null group, right? Usually this SWOT null group, right, I will go and lock this. This one, no animator supposed to touch. If you touch it, it's broken. Okay, so lock this, right? This one not supposed to touch. If you touch this, you mess everything up. Okay, so this one is here like that. Then the SWOT controller, the constraint control, also you can put it inside the SWOT group. Then you zero it out, right? Then it will go there also, right? Can see? Yeah, then of course you put the SWOT geo control inside the SWOT constraint. So we have this set up. So one control the mesh, one control the control. One is the constraint, one is the mesh, right? One is the constraint, one is the mesh controller, right? Then what we can do is the SWOT control, right? From the Zelda one, right? No, we could this one first. The geo control master, then this one slave. Then we can constrain parent. This one we can turn off the maintain set because it's exactly where it's at. Okay. So what I did is that now I have a self-control that is outside of Zelda, right? All the Zelda SWOT control is part of it, right? By pet 01 rig. Now I have my own control outside that is overriding the Zelda rig. Right? I have a self-control that override the Zelda rig. So now I can do the thing. So we can bring the SWOT to the hand. This one to this. Then we go ahead and match move. Right? Then we can this one master and slave to the SWOT constraint. Right? Then constraint parent. This one we need to maintain offset because all the values are very, very funny now. So we don't want to mess it. We want to keep it. Apply. So then we can close. So now on this side, right, Zelda has the SWOT that is constrained to the hand, and we can still manually make adjustments. So let's say we want a double-handed pose, right? We can put two hands, one hand on top, one hand below, like that, right? And then it's not messing up the movement. It stays there. So we can have the constraint turn on, and the mesh, we can still adjust it ourselves. So you can also do like a SWOT flip or some stuff like that, right? So we can also go and play that. That can come up.
That means like let's say the gun or the sword, whichever, like let's say it's okay, so it'll be let me think of a scenario. Okay, let's say like she want to pick up the gun from like
so
like,
the gun not constrained, then constrain later, right?
yeah,
Drop
let's say
and
it's
pick
a
up.
400.
Right. Okay, so let's say we want to do that. Then that is a lot easier to do that. It becomes what you already learned in school. So what you simply do, because this gun constraint control, its only job is to off and on. So its only job is to off, right? Then you can go and key this. Right, then so it's then later off and on. Yeah, its only job is to off and on. Yeah. Its only job is the only thing you animate is this off and on. Then everything else is from the inside control. Right? Everything else you want to do is on this one. So you can see my gun still spinning even though it's off, right? Okay, maybe I'll make it more clear. I don't think at the start. Alright. Yeah, maybe 0. Right? So you can see the gun still got animation, but the constraint is not part of it. The constraint is a separate layer of animation. So let's take this one. Actually, yeah, we keep like that. So its only job is to off and on. Right. Its only job is to off and on. So you don't animate anything else other than off and on the. It's basically an entire group simply to house this constraint to off and on, so that you don't mess it up. Yeah. Then you want to do whatever you do on the inside layer. Right. So you can do things like that.
So the constraint group is just
The constraint group only for constraint controlling. Don't animate any of these things because you can't. It's blue. So you must have an inside layer if you want to do any manual stuff. Right? And the same for the Zelda SWOT. The Zelda SWOT, I think most people don't know of this double layer technique. Right? So the SWOT also just comes with one layer of control. But I built my own inside outside, my double layer, my nesting technique. Right? So I still can. So this one is just for this one only to control this constraint. Then you want any manual animation, you use the geo control to go and manually do stuff. Right? Yeah. So that way you can have your constraint and still hand animate things. Yeah.
So example, like if we use my pizza, that one, let's say is on the table. Okay, so she first hold the she first hold the pizza, so that's one, then put on the table, then after the table, then she take it up again.
I mean that makes it it's a lot easier if you do the nesting technique from the start, because you have one control that control the pizza, then you have one control that control the pizza constraint. So what if you did that from the very beginning, then what you really just need to do is you just off and on the constraint only. Then the manual animation you can still just go and adjust it inside the thing. Then you don't need to then you don't need to go and do a lot of backward stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I understand.
Yeah. I mean this one a bit advanced or something. I don't know. They don't teach this at all. Or at least I've not seen this taught anywhere to do the double way. I just sat down and thought about it myself one day. Yeah, but maybe there are people who do teach this, but I've not actually come across. But yeah lah. Yeah.
At least the method that I was taught by, I think, was it or something? Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a method, but it's very a bit messy and a bit
This one I find a lot more clean, because there's one that is just for constraining, then there's one that's for animating, and that's all. With this setup, that's all you need already.
Oh, I remember. He also has like that. He also does the double locator,
but
like double locator but different.
He used that one as a world space switcher, right?
Yeah.
I know that one. That one is to convert from but yeah, that one is to convert from the local translation to a world type translation. But I mean the idea is the same, or at least the idea for this one, the SWOT null group that is a self control outside of the mesh of the original rig, is the similar concept where I'm stealing the information, I'm stealing the control away from the original one and building my own set outside, which is what Justin's world space controller also does. Yeah. So we are stealing control away by using constraints, right? So we use constraints, then this thing, because this thing is constrained to the stuff that we make, so now our own custom stuff is in control of the Zelda rig, right? So we don't need to go inside and dismantle, but we from the outside can go and just force it to follow our outside stuff. Yeah.
I'll try that.
Yeah. Then right, because of this technique, you can actually go and link multiple things together. So let me show you, like you want to have a two-handed thing, right? So the time your pizza also, you went to go and do two hands holding it, right? One hand hold it, then the other hand follow it. Right?
Yeah.
So you can do that also, but the thing is that the other hand must be in IK mode. Right? The other hand must be in IK mode, then only it will work. So what you can do is you can actually put the hand yeah, something like that. Okay, example. So now you've got so if you want to go and add more constrainy stuff, right, and you don't really want to mess it up, right, because you've got this sort of control groups happening, you can actually put stuff inside the constraint group, right? The constraint group is just following the constraint. Then you want to add more custom stuff or more custom handholds, you can put it inside the constraint group. So let's make one. Let's put it inside this one. Locator 2, let's 0 it. Okay. Constraint control, locator 2. Why is it so weird? Okay. Okay, so this one not really set up properly because I need to freeze it. This one to this one. It's to this match move. Let's make it bigger. Okay. Let's put it here. Okay. So this one goes inside this one. Then we freeze. Okay, then we call it, let's say left hand string. Okay, then we go and test it. Okay, yeah, it's following along. Okay. Usually whenever I build a rig, right, I like to just That time I asked you to do the pizza, then I asked you just go and scrub it a bit, right? Just to test whether it follow it working, right?
Yeah.
So we want to have that. Okay, so that works. Then this one to this. Right, match move. Okay, yeah. Because the hand is not long enough to go and stretch the straight. So it looks a bit weird, right? But it doesn't matter because we can manually adjust, right? So this one, master slave, constraint parent, let's maintain offset, apply. Okay, so what we have now is the hand controlling, the other hand is just being a slave of the gun. Okay, so it looks very, very weird at first. The thing about this nesting is that we can always still manually adjust, right? We can manually go and adjust the thing so that it looks a lot more natural, right? Okay, because the gun is spinning, I never set it to spin, so it's not going to look right. But actually you can set it to spin also, but it look like super broken. So we can just for fun, I just put it inside here, right? Now the control all spinning also, right? So it may look very odd and broken, but actually it is working as intended, right? It is actually working. So we don't do the spin because it looks very, I think it's confusing you, right? We don't do the spin. Okay, yeah. So the hand is following the other hand is following the gun. See? So this hand control the gun, then the other hand follow the gun. So if you don't want it, you simply use the control constraint to just turn off only. Right? If you don't want it, I think this is on the hand. Yeah, down here, left hand constraint. So if you don't want it, you just turn it off. Right? Then you want it, you turn it back on. Right? So the only thing it does is off and on. Okay, but except this one, this time around the constraint is on the hand itself. So you must go and find. It's inside the biped rig. So you must go and find. Because that's where it's at. That's where they keep the thing. Right. So this is the part where it's a bit more, you must go and dig. Yeah, here, this is the thing. Left hand constraint control. Right. So this one controls this hand, and this hand follows that left hand constraint control. Then the left hand constraint control follows the gun constraint control. And the gun constraint control follow the right hand IK. Right, so they move together. Right. So you want the two hand holding a thing. Usually if two hands holding an object, one hand is the controlling hand, then the other hand just follow along. You don't really want to manually have to readjust the other hand. So you usually leave it like that. After you finish your animating, then later you want to go and adjust the pole vector and all that later. That was the cleanup stage. See, this hand not doing anything. This one's on set on automatic. But the thing is that most of the time, if you just link the hand directly to the gun, you cannot adjust the hand positioning, right? It will just snap. It will just snap back. You see, because it's all blue color, right? It will snap. So you cannot. The problem is you cannot adjust the other hand. But with this double technique, you can. So if you don't like where it's at, you just press the left hand constraint controller. This hand controls this constrainer. So it follows. Right? It follows. Right? So you can have the gun here. Then you can still adjust the position if you don't like it. Right? And then it's still following. Right? Yeah. So this is the thing where you can make that adjustment. Then like that time your pizza wasn't being held properly. So if you do this, you can still go and adjust so that she hold the gun properly. Right, and then this hand just see the hand doesn't the slave hand doesn't move, see, but you can adjust it. Right, you can adjust it without messing up anything. Yeah, so this is the nesting technique. You got it? Is it straightforward? Yeah, so the most of it come from the setup, right? You want to zero it. You want to set it up you want it such that it's neat, basically, right? So if you need to reset the constraint, you can just zero it and it will go to its zero location, right? Perhaps this one I did not adjust the thing, so maybe by default should be -90. You can just keep on making the constraints, and once you get it correct at the end, then you can just press the freeze and then you can just start doing your work. Yeah, so I should have done the hand in like -90 and then freeze, so it by default does this, but yeah lah. Yeah. So she can do all sorts of funny stuff. Yeah, then you can still manually adjust the whole entire gun. Right. Yeah, and it all follows along. Right, so this allows you the freedom of manual animation even though there is constraint happening, because you cannot constrain and hand animate the same attribute. It will break. Alright, so this one you want to keep it blue. Then the manual one you want to have it just red. So if it's green or any other color means something is there's two inputs. It's wrong already. It's going to spoil, basically. Yeah. Right. Like I see just now. If you go and key this. Okay. Okay. What is the key button? Okay. Yeah. Oh wait, not doing. Yeah, I mean I screwed it up now. Okay. But yeah. Anyway, that's the gist of it lah. The double groups. One is just for constraint, then the other one for manual animation, and you can adjust it. Right. So it's very simple.
Understood.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a locator also, can be whatever you want. I just like to make it. I mean, if I got time, I will go and draw the thing properly, draw the control box properly, but it can be literally anything as long as you know what is it.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Any questions? Any other questions?
Oh, that's about it so far. So yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go and stop the recording.